The topic of my presentation this evening is the revival of anti-Semitism. I call the paper Antisemitism Redivivis. If truth be told, it is a plague that never dies. At the end of his great novel, The Plague, Albert Camus describes the reaction of Dr. Rieu, the novel's protagonist, to the cessation of the plague. And I quote, "As Rieu listens to the joy of his liberated companions, he muses that their joy is and always will be endangered because the plague never dies or disappears for good. Someday, for the bane and the enlightening of human beings, it will come again." I was a young adult in the 1930s. I have lived through a lot in my lifetime, and I see a lot of things coming back, which from the perspective of history, I had hoped would not come back. Now, I believe that Camus' description of the plague is also true of anti-Semitism. It is a phenomenon ultimately grounded in that domain of human endeavor least accessible to critical reflection. I repeat that, least accessible to critical reflection, even among those who believe they are free of its influence, namely religion. On December 14th, 2005, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad suggested that the Holocaust was a myth used by the Europeans to create a Jewish state in the heart of the Islamic world. On December 11th, 2006, a year later, the Institute for Political and International Studies of the Iranian Foreign Ministry sponsored an international conference on the Holocaust featuring such luminaries as David Duke, a former head of the Ku Klux Klan, leading Holocaust deniers from around the world, and representatives of the idiosyncratic ultra-Orthodox Neturei Karta. Apart from gaining further popularity in the Muslim world and enhancing the prestige of those who, while denying the Holocaust, look forward to participation in its repetition, Holocaust denial seeks to deny the legitimacy and hence the right to exist of the State of Israel by alleging that it was founded upon monumental fraud, deception, and blackmail. The Iranian regime has also used Holocaust denial to strengthen its ties with the anti-Semitic right-wing extremists who share both their ultimate genocidal objective and their belief that a Jewish cabal controls Washington decision-making. Nevertheless, implicit in Holocaust denial is the idea that the crime is so terrible that even those who are in reality its would-be perpetrators prefer, at least for the time being, not to be associated with it, but rather to deny it. There are, however, others in the Islamic world and elsewhere who openly express their regret that Hitler did not finish the job. For example, on April 29, 2002, Fatma Abdallah Mahmoud, a columnist for the official Egyptian government journal daily, Al-Akhbar, expressed that regret. Referring to the Jews, he wrote, they are accursed in heaven and on earth. They are accursed from the day of the human race, etc. I don't have to read the whole thing, but you get the picture. And finally, after insisting that the Holocaust was a Jewish fraud, the columnist concludes by complaining to Hitler, as if he were still alive, If only you had done it, brother. If only it had really happened so that the world could sigh in relief without their evil and sin. And I want to interject here and say the reason why I called my new book Jihad and Genocide is because this is a genocidal anti-Semitism, and they will settle for nothing left. Much of the language used by Fatma Abdallah Mahmoud is that of classical Islamic anti-Semitism, rather than the racist anti-Semitism of National Socialism. Although, as Andrew Bostom has shown, there are strong affinities between the two movements, men and women like Mahmoud did not need National Socialism to express their genocidal anti-Semitism. They simply didn't need it. If for Mahmoud the Holocaust was a Jewish lie, for Sheikh Amin al-Ansari, an Egyptian Sunni Islamist, it was a glorious truth that revealed the full measure of divine justice. On January 26, 2009, those of you from Europe know that that's around Holocaust Remembrance Day in Europe, Al-Rahma, Mercy TV, the Egyptian Sunni Islamist channel, broadcast its own version of the Holocaust, featuring al-Ansari, who, unlike Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, makes no attempt to deny the Holocaust. On the contrary, he praises it as an example of Allah's way of wreaking vengeance on the Jews. On his TV program, he offers gory film images of the most inhuman Nazi cruelty as the kind of behavior Allah expects from pious Muslims. And this is important because one of the points I want to make is that there is in Islam, radical Islam, no sense that there are inalienable human rights. All human rights are conditional, and how they are conditional we will talk about in a few minutes. Now, after cursorily examining examples of Jewish alleged wickedness through history, al-Ansari offers the TV audience his justification for the Holocaust. The corruption spread by the Jews was very great, very great. It got to the point where the rulers themselves had no solution but to annihilate them. And then there were clips of the death camps and clips of people, emaciated people, waiting to be burned to death. And he addresses his audience and says, "The Jews are our oppressors. They are being deported." And he then goes on to say, "All oppressors are killed by those they oppress. There are the bodies, these are the dead people, these are the skulls." Goes on like that. "This is what we hope will happen, but Allah willing, we hope it will happen at the hand of Muslims." In al-Ansari's narrative, the Germans are the innocent victims, the Jews the evil oppressors. This is a license to kill granted by a religious authority speaking in the name of authentic Islam. Now, his propaganda exceeds in viciousness anything that Joseph Goebbels, who was as vicious as they could be, ever contrived, because the Germans at least tried to keep the action of the Holocaust out of their front pages. It was a secret that everybody knew, as Walter Lacour has described it. Not al-Ansari. No, as far as he's concerned, it's something that all Muslims should know and should take as their example for their own behavior. Nor is al-Ansari's genocidal anti-Semitism an isolated or an atypical expression in the world of Islam. On the contrary, we have only to view the many video clips of Muslim protest demonstrations against Israel during the Gaza war of December 2008 and January 2009. I thought, should I show these videos, and then I decided against it. All are available on YouTube, and anybody that wants to get the exact location, send me an email, and I'll give you the details. A few of them. Outside of the White House, Washington, D.C., January 10th, 2009, there are video clips taken at Lafayette Park opposite the White House, showing thousands gathered in the park in a demonstration sponsored by allegedly mainstream Muslim organizations such as the Muslim America Society and the Council on American Islamic Relations, which you can, their spokesmen are readily available for you on the NewsHour of PBS from time to time. In one clip, the crowd chants, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." In another clip, taken the next day, a typical sign reads, "The cancer of the Middle East, Israel must not exist." There is a pro-Hamas rally taken near Grand Central Station on January 11, 2009. A man holds a poster with the message, "Death to the Juice," J-U-I-C-E. It's a purposeful misspelling. In another clip, "Zionism, go back to the oven. We need another Hitler." And it goes on and on like this. One of their, in demonstrations in Chicago, New York, Houston, Oklahoma City, the crowd chants, "Kaiba, Kaiba, Ya Yahud," and "Kaiba, Kaiba, Ya Yahud, Yaish Muhammad, Muhammad, Sof Yahud." Kaiba, Kaiba, O you Jews, the army of Muhammad will return. This is a reference to the Battle of Khaybar in 629, in which Muhammad and his followers attacked Khaybar Jews. According to Robert Spencer, when modern-day jihadists invoke Khaybar, they are recalling an aggressive surprise raid by Muhammad, which resulted in the final eradication of the once considerable Jewish presence in Arabia. To the jihadists, Khaybar means the destruction of the Jews and the seizure of their property by the Muslims. It is what they have in mind for Israel. Muhammad, the prophet and military commander, serves as Islam's sanctified role model in this chant. And others like this, in Amsterdam, Hamas, Hamas, Yoda on hit Has, Hamas, Hamas, Jews to the gas. What's interesting here is that Harry van Bommel, a socialist member of parliament and not a Muslim, joins in the chant. He's apparently quite comfortable in that company. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, much the same thing. I won't repeat everything there. The ones in Copenhagen are especially interesting because they had their own special gripes about the Mohammed cartoons. January 10th, 2009, clip begins with a chant, "Down, down Israel, down, down USA, down, down Denmark."